basically they were just maintenance and parking places for big spaceships. That's all they were. And I'll tell you exactly what all those tubes and stuff and tunnels and things in the pyramids were for. Stonehenge is a simple one. That just means that a disc-shaped object with a round underbelly like this one had, but a big one, can sit on top. And if you can imagine, I mean, most craft, the reason why they're saucer shape is because they're aerodynamic in all directions. That's the main thing, because when you tilt one disc away from the other, you can imagine a gyro. Trying to twist a gyroscope, is it? Yeah. You spin it up and you try and twist it. It's very, very resistant. Now, if you weren't holding that, that would actually go to one side. These discs are standing in space, and the reason why they can sit there in the air with absolutely no movement whatsoever is because they have eradicated all effects around them, including gravity from the Earth. So everything is turned into alternating and has no effect. It's all reduced to zero, including the gravity. So it can sit there as if the Earth wasn't there, just as if it was sitting out in space. So that's why you get them just sitting there doing nothing for ages, and then suddenly when they move at high speed, that's because they tilted one disc away from the other by increasing the magnetic field on that side and not on that side, and it goes zoom as far as you like. And when they accelerate away from the Earth, they have to use they don't have to use a gravitational field, because they just tilt the disc and they're gone. So that's how that works anyway, but I'll tell you all that in its own. I think I've got a technology section in there. On other worlds, for instance, I can show you transport systems and how they work, because believe me, this spaceship, there's no secrets in those days, because there's no money, there's no countries, country system has to go, and there's no sort of secret churches or anything like that. That's all gone. And one of the planets which they kept using as an example has been running almost the same systems for 10,000 years. So, because the planet is big and can absorb all kinds of... In fact, it's so big that one side's too hot, one side's too cold, and they're only living in the band around the middle. To give you some idea. That's just one planet, but you know, I was shown examples of stuff on planets when I asked questions that was relevant to us or close to it. Nothing's ever exactly the same, although chemical reactions tend to be the same on every single planet depending on what there is. Like for instance, you know, I can tell you how we evolved and why this planet got life on it and no others did, which is quite obvious. You know, it's not I mean, I'm not brilliant, I'm not very clever, but even I understood it. So you will be hopefully you will be impressed. Now I'm going to try and make this go to 1 hour at 43 minutes, so I'll keep talking till it's 1 hour. Switch off if you like. Now, so somebody said something about when they set up the YouTube channel, they said something about it generating money. Now, we're not very interested in that, but because, like I say, when we saw this no money system, we all sort of thought, well, that's it. But obviously, there are expenses. Like for me to get from Wales to Milton Keynes is fuel, and so if it does generate anything, obviously it'll go back into this project. I don't need any money as such, and the X project doesn't either, and we don't really. We've got all the equipment we need. But yeah, I'll probably be talking after I've got the UFO thing out of the way, and there's probably 12 or 13, 15 videos to do on the various subjects. After that's out of the way, then I'll start on the Project X ones and tell you what we do. So yeah. But going back now, on the day I was there for about 8 hours, the device said that you know, hurry up because it's leaving. Its window of opportunity was coming round. I worked out it had probably been there about 10 hours. I think I've said different in the book, but when I keep thinking about it, because I certainly, because when you're coming down the hill towards where the ARV is and the ferrets are, you can see on top of that hill, and I don't think it was there when I was at that point, but I went quite a few other vehicles and that before I got back to the ARV, so so I don't know what happened in that time, but so I thought, oh good, I'm going to see this thing take off. You know, then it'll tell me when it's battlefield tactical nuclear weapon, a proper UFO. Now, if it had taken off in front of me, I would have been able to come up to you and say, oh, I saw a UFO, this is what it told me, this is what it's all about. But because I didn't see that, I'll tell you why I didn't see it. It asked me, either side of these walls, now you'd think, the walls in the going through the hole in the top of the UFO, I'm not going to say UFO now because there's an IFO, identified flying object. It's an IFO now, okay, because it's identified. The wall, you'd think, it looks like metal, smooth titanium. Now, I've got a calculator, which I didn't bring, but you wouldn't be able to see the colour on here anyway, of exactly what the outside felt like. This calculator is made of titanium, it's a long thin thing, and it feels like the outside, but the inside was smooth. And I said I actually asked the question, why is it smooth in here and it's rough outside? And it's basically, the answer was micrometeorites. When it's travelling from the planet back to the mothership, it can get bombed by micrometeorites. Now, it had no idea how old it was either, because time is different on every single planet. Obviously, old is the time on your planet. So that's one problem we had. It couldn't say how long it had been there, because although I don't know if it had worked out time or not, I don't know, or whether it needed to even. But basically, it was there. It sniffs the air. It takes the information about what is contained at that point on the planet, and then it goes back to the mothership, downloads its information onto the big computer, which is, when I get to mothership, I'll tell you all about it. And then that computer can actually run the paths of all the atoms sampled backwards, because it knows how they react with the other atoms around them, how they react. So from that reaction, it can run the whole thing backwards, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you've got the whole planet stored on that computer, which is colossal. I mean, it's ridiculously, you know, I was shown, well, I didn't know what I was looking at, but basically that, sorry if I keep saying basically, I say it in real life. So that's what it does. It's an atom sniffing, and we've done something on, we obviously don't know how to build one of these, but we've done something on our Project X website, which is called the Atom Track. Atom tracking computer. Now, if we could make that work, you could go back however many, it'd be on screen, but you could go back however many years you like, because you know how all the atoms all reacted with each other, you can build up the picture and put it on the screen. Obviously, you know, there's an untold amount of atoms, probably isn't enough numbers in the world to tell you how many atoms there are on this earth. But there are computers that will log every single one. And they do, the one thing I did manage to grasp was they do a process of elimination. So if there's 100 miles of rock, obviously that doesn't come into the equation. It's only generally what's in the atmosphere to what's on the surface that they log that. They don't have to log the whole planet. So there's a lot of process of elimination, like how much water there is to sea. That doesn't have to be logged. But if you could do it, you could run it backwards and you could find out what everybody did. Crimes, absolutely everything. But I'll tell you more about that when we get to the technology side. So anyway, it said I'm going, and I said, look, I'm finished my question. You know, I've got so much to ask it now, and I wasted so much time fiddling with the technology and my cameras and things, and fiddling with trying to find the range warden, see if he knew anything about it. And I even shouted a walker, and they didn't even look, you know, because I was, well, miles away and it's windy. So now the other thing was that I should have said, this thing was actually, it was against the bank, so I didn't know whether it was resting on the bank or not. But when I went round there, the grass was, it was against the bank. The grass was quite high, and it was touching the grass, so it looked as if it was sitting edge on to the bank like that. But it was actually just grass. So what it had done, it had hidden itself, gone up, touched the grass and stopped. So it was actually hovering. And here's the funny bit, I was able to push the whole thing. Now when I pushed it about 4 inches, it relocated itself back. Enough so that I got a big bruise on my arm there, which I think I've got a picture of somewhere. But I didn't do it again because it was like a bull elephant. It relocated itself. And when I did it with what I tried to put my hands on top, like that, it did exactly the same thing. So it's movable, but it located itself back to exactly where it was a couple of seconds later. So that was amazing. I didn't do it again, I'll tell you. And then, right, going back to, how long have we got? 41, I think it says. Anyway, so I said to it, look, I've got lots of questions to ask. So this is the only question it asked me. Did I want to have the information put into my own head? Now this sounds really far-fetched, but it's not as far. When I explain the technology, you'll see what I mean. The walls, they were both screens, but rather than, I'm going to tell you how it works in the technology section, but basically it was thousands of little hexagonal tubes, all particle accelerators. So when it acted like a TV, it would fire a proton at your retina. So you got this amazing depth, high definition image. So when I was looking at pictures, I looked at pictures of the universe, other transport systems. Everything came up in pictures. All the questions I asked, I'll tell you in the pictures, the main ones that I saw when I tell you about the other subjects. But what it can do, these tubes, it can fire a particle to meet anywhere in the air in front of you. It can actually fire particles. It can fire a particle if you're standing there, or if you're in the room somewhere. It can fire a particle which can meet inside your brain and then change the value of memory or whatever. In my case, so it said to me, sit on the seat sideways, put your head, this is so that my head didn't move, put your head against the wall and be dead still. So I did that, and then I don't remember anything after that. I remember waking up on the A1, driving the Jaguar and going down the A1, just as I would be driving normally. So I stopped in a lay-by, and I looked around to make sure I got everything. Because did I forget anything? No, it was all nicely in the bag, all the cameras, everything, the suitcase in the back, food everywhere. Now on the passenger seat next to me, there was garage type sandwiches, eaten chocolate bar, sandwich box, the sandwiches are gone, chocolate bar, things like that, and a receipt. So I went down the road, got on the roundabout, came back, went all the way back to Otterburn, to this garage where it said on the receipt, And I said to me, did I come in here? He goes, yeah, you came in about half an hour ago. And I said, what did I do? He said, no, you filled the car up, you bought sandwiches and all the stuff on the receipt, you gave me a £10 note, and then you went. I didn't notice anything strange. So I'd come off Otterburn, walked to the Jaguar, got in the Jaguar, gone out of the front gate, because I went and asked the guard, did I come out the front gate? And he said yes, he was amazed to see a Jaguar. And he asked me questions, and I just sort of waved and said goodbye. So anyway, so I went back home, and after that, nothing seemed to happen. But the changes over the next 6 to 8 months were very subtle. Like, for instance, I wouldn't accept anything bad in it. I wouldn't accept anything. I'm not saying bad. I'm saying compromising. Everything had to be really good quality, and I was seeing at the time women who all had children and were baggage and everything. And I remember thinking, where in the world? Because I was now quite a worldly person after this. Where in the world could I find my own unadulterated girl, you know? So I went down that line in the end. And so that was one change I made. Yeah, lots of changes. Lots of other things happened you don't really want to know about. So this thing had changed, and obviously it did warn me that if my mind wasn't big enough, it could overfill, well, it could fill my memory up, but the processing part of your brain, if it's not big enough, won't be able to cope, which is what happened to me. So I've got a small processing area, or one as big as we can have now. Obviously they're 10,000 years ahead of us, so they could have bigger computing areas. So so that was it. So I'm just going to draw a quick picture so you can see what I was talking about. And if you can imagine, I don't know what the roof was like, so I didn't get up that far, like that. Curved edge, curved right underneath like that, curved like that with an edge. And then what you did, you got up on there. There's the bank, grass. That bank was much shallower because you could stand here. And then through the top was this square hole with the thing on the side. So if you're looking dead on, that's what it looked like. And that top was more sort of like that, I'd say. I think they're straight. But the top could rotate and shut that whole corridor. And when you looked at the edge of the door, it was sort of very... What I shall do, I'll take that off so you can see what I'm doing. Is that better? Yeah. Now I can't see that because I haven't got the glasses. But yeah, that's better. So there's a square hole. Now, after all this, in the last couple of years, I've looked at all the pictures people have drawn, and all the UFO drawings, they're all different shapes. They've all got that same, or several. They might have several holes around. You know, some of them have got one there, but they're generally, and they start as soon as they come into our atmosphere, they open and start sampling the air, and then they'll go to wherever they could sit in mid-air. They know exactly what we're doing by what's in the air, how many people, what industries we've had, what processes are going on. It's all sampled from the air. It's no good sampling the soil because that's been there for, don't know how long it's been there. So anyway, all this outside here was all rough. As soon as you get inside the door, all the edges and the floor was almost like a mirror. So there was that. No features whatsoever. Now, when I asked how these things were made, they're actually made on, in 20 years ago, 3D printer didn't exist. But it's a 3D printer based on the Mothership, so the Mothership can actually make these between destinations, which could be millions of years between one solar system and another one. It could be travelling for 20,000 years, so it's got plenty of time to make it. And they're made from the bottom up, one layer at a time. So you can incorporate all the electronics and everything in there without there being any hatches. You can even build in a vacuum, which you have to do with the rotating discs. Yeah, and then that went back to the Mothership, and it fits in like a cassette type system, and the system comes up, puts one on the charger, rotates the discs using a magnetic field on the top and the bottom, there and there, and once they're spun up to millions of RPM, I suppose they'd have to be, then it's released, and that will stay there until they have to go back, which isn't very long. But you know, millions of RPM. It's going to take ages to run a huge. I mean, God knows how much that weighs. But those discs, if they're big enough and heavy enough, they'll carry on rotating, especially in a vacuum. So that's that. But that's literally all there is to say about that. I'll cover the insides in the technology section, and the technology section is also going to cover the Mothership, which is its own. It's an amazing thing, and I'll tell you why they're long and thin as well. It's fairly obvious why, but I'll tell you anyway. So yeah, let's see. I think that's it. So anything I haven't covered. So how I got there, how I went back, what happened to me afterwards, what happened to me after the scan. And I'm still dopey now after this. You know, it didn't do me any good at all, I'll tell you. In fact, I probably would have come out with this a lot sooner had I not have 20 years to try and process everything that happened. But on the other hand, there was the giving the information to the government. I would have thought they would have all jumped to that and thought, oh, what a good idea, let's talk to this chap more. No, nobody. My dad asked a lot of questions, you know, and obviously he didn't believe it, same as everybody else. But yeah. But yeah, they're definitely with us, and a lot more than we think. You know, we only see the ones that allow us to see them. To give you some idea. And some of them, because they've all got a universal communication system. So if you build a mothership to go out exploring, you have to have the universal system. Now, when this Earth is set up to the criteria that they want us to meet before they contact us, they will tell us that universal language. And there's a lot of other gains we get too. But to tell you the truth, you'll see at a later chapter, they don't think we're going to be here much longer. But again, we've survived 5 mass extinctions, so we could be, you know, if we're clever enough. But there's quite a few things that we've got to sort out, which I'll tell you what they have and what they haven't got to last 10,000 years. And we work like mad, and to get money, to keep our families, everything. They don't. It's all leisure. Everything is leisure. And I can tell you how they do that quite easily. Which is pretty obvious. I mean, we've got some of it now, but we're just a bit slow. You know, we're being slowed by quite a few different things. One of them, the big, thick, sticky mud is having to have money for stuff. Now, I'll tell you, you know, everybody, it's pretty obvious why money's here, but I just had it confirmed. So I'll be going into that heavily. I don't know if there's anything else that, I think we got to about an hour. I might have to break this up into 2 videos. Parts 1 and Part 2 introduction. Let's have a look. Yeah, the reward system. That's another thing. Yeah, events that have shaped successful planets. Back to basics. That's quite a relevant one, because what happens is, as Earths get sophisticated, they basically do themselves out of a good life. Now, the Life Star, I've called it the Life Star because it looked a bit like the Death Star on Star Wars, because in fact it's a Life Star. It's actually a lifeboat for your planet. Now, I'll tell you how they built that. That's in here too. But quite a few planets that have, where the sun's expanded, for instance, they have managed to get away with pretty much everybody because of the Life Star. Transport, yeah, transport is a good one, because it's nothing like we've got now. Government, yeah, I'll cover government definitely, because that's, you know, we're doing everything wrong. Everything wrong, literally everything wrong. Abodes, how we live. Information system, that's the one that all the other planets, basically money. There you go, there's a good one. Now, religion's in here too. So you'll probably be unhappy or happy, depending on who you are. Yeah, memory, how your memory works. I know that. That's not obvious, that one. The country system, how that hinders us. It hinders us. It's very nice to be English, or to be American, or whatever, very nice, or Indian, or whatever. But it messes us, it causes big problems down the line. Now, I'll be showing you that. Hang on a sec. Anyway. So yeah, that's it. So this will be the first video on the Project X site. Hope you like it. And if you can watch, I don't know I don't think there's going to be any adverts on these, but my mate's going to do it. So if he puts adverts on, any money we get will be going to, not to us, we're going to further the cause. And if we can't find anything to spend it on, we're going to spend it on something to do with the planet. Like paying Greta's boat to go to Spain or Japan or wherever. Because yes, we are in touch with all those people. Because basically, I know what's going to happen. I know it. You know, I want you to believe. I want you to do your own research and believe your own thing. But I do know what's going to happen. So I'll be telling you that as well. Right. Thank you very much. And any Project X members see this, can they forward it to any other project member that hasn't seen it, and anyone else? Okay, family members. You know, it's quite it's going to be quite important, I think. And any government officials who think, oh, I'm going to lose something here, I'm going to do something. Oh, you know, don't you worry. Our system involves nobody dying. It saves everybody. Okay? Thank you very much.